The first sign came as a piercing tremor in the air, sharp enough to make anyone pause. It carried a vibration that seemed to crawl under the skin, a resonating hum that made the hair on the back of the neck stand on end, as though the world itself was taking a sharp breath. It wasn't just sound, it felt like the universe whispering directly into the bones of those who dared to listen. To the small group monitoring the deep space array in New Mexico, it represented something far greater than mere noise. It was a pattern. A sequence. A signal. Amara, a young astrophysicist with sharp instincts and sharper wit, leaned closer to her monitor. Her heart raced as the oscillations spiked, each pulse spaced with near-perfect precision, as though crafted by an intelligence intent on making itself known. The exactness defied randomness, leaving no doubt that this was a deliberate attempt to communicate. This wasn't random. It couldn't be. "Are you seeing this?" she called out, her voice cracking with a mix of excitement and disbelief. Across the room, Neil, the lead technician, spun his chair towards her console. His face, usually calm and composed, tightened as he scanned the data. "That's impossible." "What?" Amara pressed. "What are you thinking?" "The origin," Neil said, pointing to the coordinates. "That's not just deep space. That's way beyond our known boundaries. And these pulses, they're mathematical. Fibonacci sequences." The room buzzed as other technicians and scientists clustered around. The hum grew louder, vibrating with an uncanny rhythm that seemed to pulse in sync with their heartbeats. It felt sentient, as if it were probing, searching, and aware of their every move. Amara couldn't help but feel as though the signal was reaching out not just to Earth, but to her. She shook the thought away, focusing instead on deciphering the sequences. Hours passed, then days, as the world outside the lab began to notice. The news spread like wildfire. A signal, possibly extraterrestrial, had been received. Crowds gathered outside observatories, holding signs that read "Welcome" or "Stay away." Some cheered and waved flags, their faces lit with hope, while others wore grim expressions, their placards trembling in nervous hands. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, a mix of jubilant anticipation and quiet dread, as though the entire planet were on the brink of something unfathomable. Governments scrambled to decode its implications, while conspiracy theorists flooded the internet with doomsday prophecies. Across continents, humanity held its collective breath, unsure whether to feel or fear. But it wasn't just the signal's origin that sent shockwaves through humanity. It was the message embedded within it. Amara decoded the first fragment late one night, her fingers trembling as she typed. The words on her screen made her stomach churn. "We see you. We're coming." The words were simple but profound, triggering a cascade of reactions worldwide. Governments convened emergency meetings. Social media exploded with theories, memes, and panic. Some saw it as a harbinger of doom, others as a beacon of hope. Amara felt a strange mix of both. Days turned into weeks, and the signal continued. It grew stronger, evolving, almost as if it were learning. Amara and her team were on the brink of decoding the next sequence when something unprecedented happened. The signal stopped. Silence fell over the array, so absolute it felt deafening. "Why did it stop?" Neil asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Amara's eyes darted across the monitors. "I don't think it stopped," she said, swallowing hard. "I think it shifted." She was right. The signal wasn't gone, it had rerouted. Devices everywhere, from phones and radios to the simplest electronics, began emitting the same rhythmic hum, an inescapable sound that unified the world in confusion and awe. The Fibonacci sequences now came with visuals. Blurry, fragmented images of sleek, metallic figures moving in synchronized formations, and the faint outline of an enormous, luminous structure in the background. It was unclear whether they were beings or machines, but the deliberate movements suggested purpose and intent. The world froze in collective awe and terror. Amara stayed glued to her station, sleepless and determined. One image stood out, sharper than the rest, a structure floating in space, massive and glowing with an unearthly energy. It wasn't a ship. It was a portal. Her breath caught as she pieced it together. A wave of cold swept through her, and her fingers hovered, trembling, over the keyboard. "They're not just coming," she said aloud, her voice barely steady. Her mind raced, an avalanche of questions crashing into her thoughts. They're opening a door. The realization was both electrifying and paralyzing, a truth too vast to fully comprehend. The words sent a ripple of fear through the team, and beyond the lab, the world braced for what would come next. But no one could have anticipated how fast it would all change. The signal, or whatever was behind it, wasn't just a message. It was a countdown. The countdown ticked forward, and with each passing hour, the world's collective anxiety deepened. Amara barely left her station, her eyes bloodshot and her mind consumed with the cascading fragments of data. Each pulse of the signal, accompanied by fragmented images, felt like a piece of a larger puzzle. Amara's chest tightened as she stared at the screen, the weight of the mystery pressing heavily on her. The realization that humanity might not be prepared for what lay ahead gnawed at her resolve, leaving her caught between exhilaration and dread. The portal was growing clearer in the visuals. Its edges shimmered like liquid metal, undulating as if alive, reflecting colors that shifted between the visible spectrum and something beyond human comprehension. A soft glow emanated from its core, casting an otherworldly light that seemed to hum in unison with the signal, pulling the viewer into its hypnotic allure. Across the globe, scientists and engineers scrambled to make sense of it. Some worked tirelessly to decode the alien mathematics, while others debated the implications in heated forums. Laboratories buzzed with urgency, their researchers torn between awe and fear. Skeptics argued over the signal's intent, questioning if they were pawns in a cosmic game. Meanwhile, the public demanded answers, protests erupting in front of research facilities as the pressure on scientific communities reached a breaking point. Some hypothesized it was a gateway for faster-than-light travel. Others feared it might be a weapon, a cosmic guillotine poised to fall. The unknown amplified every theory. But it was Amara who made the next breakthrough. Buried in the signal's undercurrent was another sequence, a complex interplay of frequencies that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. It carried an almost melodic quality, as though it were deliberately crafted to draw attention to its hidden significance. She isolated it late one night, her hands trembling as she entered the commands to decode it. When the results appeared on her screen, she gasped. It wasn't just a message, it was a set of instructions. Neil, summoned from his makeshift cot in the corner of the lab, stared at the screen in disbelief. "Are these coordinates?" Amara nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "And schematics. They're giving us blueprints for something." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Why would an advanced civilization send instructions to build something? And more importantly, could it be trusted? The blueprints were complex, a mix of known engineering principles and alien mathematics that defied Earth's current understanding. Yet, piece by piece, they began to make sense: a machine, large and intricate, designed to interact with the portal. Governments across the world wrestled with the decision to act on the instructions. While some advocated caution, fearing a trap, others pushed for immediate construction, desperate to uncover the truth. The United Nations convened an emergency summit, and after days of tense debate, a coalition of the world's greatest minds was assembled to bring the design to life. The project was shrouded in secrecy, with only a select few aware of its progress. Amara was at the heart of it, her knowledge of the signal making her indispensable. Months of relentless effort followed. Factories operated around the clock, producing components, while scientists raced to adapt alien concepts into usable technology. Every delay, every setback, felt like a ticking bomb, as the countdown loomed ever closer. Meanwhile, the signal evolved. The visuals became sharper, revealing figures with elongated, angular forms and shimmering surfaces that shifted like liquid metal under unseen forces. Their luminous patterns pulsed in intricate sequences, suggesting a language or code woven into their very being. Observers described a haunting elegance, their presence exuding both power and an enigmatic intent. They were humanoid, their forms sleek and angular, with luminous patterns that pulsed across their surfaces. They didn't move like humans, their motions fluid and deliberate, as though gravity itself bent to their will. Amara couldn't shake the feeling that they were watching, their presence both a reassurance and a warning. As the machine neared completion, strange phenomena began to occur. Weather patterns grew erratic, with sudden storms and unseasonal temperatures sweeping across continents, almost as if the planet itself was reacting to the portal's presence. The atmosphere felt charged, humming faintly in a way that matched the portal's rhythm, as though Earth and the gateway were locked in a silent dialogue of forces beyond comprehension. Animals acted strangely, migrating out of season or gathering in unusual numbers near the construction site. To those nearby, it was unsettling, a quiet, instinctual revolt that seemed tied to forces beyond human understanding. Farmers whispered of flocks moving with eerie precision, while locals described the unsettling silence of areas where wildlife had suddenly vanished. It was as if the animals sensed something humanity could not. Electromagnetic disturbances disrupted communications and power grids, creating a sense of unease that rippled through the population. Amara's nights were plagued with vivid dreams. She saw the portal open, its light spilling out like a sunrise, enveloping the landscape in an otherworldly glow. The figures stepped through, their forms taller than humans, with translucent bodies that seemed to ripple like water. Their faces, or what passed for them, shifted in patterns of light and shadow, exuding a quiet yet overwhelming presence. Amara felt both drawn to them and overwhelmed, her heart racing as their gaze seemed to pierce into her mind, leaving her with a strange mix of awe and terror. In the dreams, she felt their presence in her mind, a gentle but insistent pressure, as if they were trying to communicate directly. When she awoke, the sensation lingered, leaving her shaken but more determined than ever. The final day of construction arrived with little fanfare. The machine stood tall and imposing, its alien design unmistakable against the backdrop of Earth's familiar landscape. Amara stood before it, exhaustion etched into her features. The countdown was nearly over. All that remained was to activate the machine and see what lay on the other side of the portal. As the final seconds of the countdown ticked away, the air around the machine seemed to vibrate with anticipation. A hushed silence fell over the gathered team of scientists, engineers, and global leaders watching from a secure location. Amara stood closest to the machine, her heart pounding as she prepared to activate the final sequence. "Here we go," she whispered, her voice trembling but resolute. She pressed the control panel, and a cascading series of lights rippled across the machine's surface, syncing perfectly with the rhythm of the signal. The portal began to shift and expand, its shimmering edges rippling like liquid silver, radiating bursts of iridescent light that danced across the room. It stabilized into a perfect oval, pulsating softly as if alive, its surface undulating with a hypnotic rhythm that seemed to draw everyone closer, compelled by its otherworldly allure. The glow intensified, bathing everything in a radiant light that felt neither warm nor cold but oddly alive. Those closest to the portal shielded their eyes instinctively, yet many found themselves unable to look away, entranced by the shimmering brilliance. Shadows danced across the walls, twisting into unearthly shapes, while the air seemed to hum with an electric charge. The light carried a subtle vibration, resonating in their chests as if syncing with their very heartbeats, leaving them breathless and deeply connected to the phenomenon before them. It seemed to resonate within them, stirring feelings of awe, reverence, and a faint whisper of something familiar, as though the light was reaching out to touch their very souls. A low hum filled the air, deep and resonant, as though the universe itself were exhaling. Then, the figures appeared. They stepped through the portal with deliberate grace, their forms luminous and fluid, radiating a presence that was both commanding and serene. There were 3 of them, each slightly different. One had an elongated, crystalline structure that refracted light into dazzling spectra. Another's form seemed denser, with an opalescent sheen that shifted colors like a living aurora. The third was the most ethereal, its contours barely solid, as though it were woven from threads of pure energy. Despite their differences, all were adorned with the same pulsing patterns, their rhythmic glow reinforcing the sense of unity among them. Their movements were fluid, as if they were part of the very energy surrounding them. The crowd gasped, but no one dared move. Amara felt an overwhelming wave of calm wash over her. It wasn't fear she felt, but a profound sense of connection, as if these beings were less strangers and more long-lost guides. One of the figures raised a hand, a gesture unmistakably universal. A series of harmonic tones emanated from them, resonating in the air. The machine's interface translated the tones into a series of visual patterns that scrolled across the monitors. Amara stepped forward, the only one brave enough to respond. "We're listening," she said, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. The tones shifted, and the patterns resolved into coherent symbols. The message was clear: we are here to learn. Together, we will grow. Amara's eyes filled with tears. This wasn't an invasion, nor was it a warning. It was an invitation. Over the following days, the beings shared their knowledge not through words, but through a direct exchange of thought and energy. The experience was unlike anything humanity had known. Ideas flowed like streams of light, filling the mind with crystalline clarity. Amara felt their presence within her thoughts, a gentle yet profound connection that bypassed language entirely. Emotions, concepts, and solutions intertwined, their meaning as clear as a sunrise. Each moment of exchange left her breathless, as if she had glimpsed fragments of a universe far greater than her imagination. The portal became a bridge, a place where humanity and the visitors communicated and collaborated. Among their many gifts was a revolutionary energy source, a self-sustaining system that drew power from subatomic particles, rendering fossil fuels obsolete. They offered insights into medicine, including a technique to accelerate cellular regeneration, promising to eradicate many terminal illnesses. In the realm of the cosmos, they revealed the existence of stable wormholes, opening possibilities for interstellar travel. Each revelation pushed the boundaries of human understanding, reshaping the future in ways that felt both astonishing and profound. The visitors didn't stay long. Just as quietly as they had arrived, they stepped back through the portal, leaving behind a message: the journey begins. Be ready. Their departure left a profound silence, but it was not empty. Across the world, people felt a collective weight of emotion awe at what they had witnessed, a lingering sense of loss, and an unshakable determination to honor the connection that had been forged. In bustling cities, impromptu gatherings formed as people lit candles and shared their reflections on the visitor's message. In remote villages, elders wove the event into oral traditions, blending it with ancestral teachings about unity and respect. Scientists, inspired by the visitors' insights, launched collaborative global projects, while artists captured the moment in music, paintings, and literature. The event resonated differently across cultures, but it unified humanity with a shared sense of purpose and hope. For some, it was a spiritual awakening; for others, a call to action. Humanity stood on the precipice of a new era, inspired by the brief encounter to strive for a future worthy of the journey ahead. Amara stood before the now dormant portal, feeling a mix of awe and responsibility. Her mind swirled with questions: what humanity would do with the knowledge they had been given, how they could rise to the expectations of beings so far beyond them. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, she felt a flicker of determination. This was more than an encounter, it was a calling. She promised herself, and the silent portal, that she would dedicate her life to ensuring humanity embraced this opportunity with wisdom and unity. Humanity had been given a glimpse of a much larger universe, a chance to evolve not through conquest but through cooperation. For centuries, humanity had sought progress through domination, carving its history with conflict and division. This moment offered a stark contrast, a path built on unity and shared purpose, a chance to transcend old paradigms and embrace a new, collective destiny. The countdown had ended, but a new journey had begun. For the first time in weeks, she smiled, a quiet hope settling in her chest. The signal that changed everything had done just that, and the world would never be the same.